Yeah, so let's start. And hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the new contributor session. We are happy that you are here. And my name is Igor, and I'm one of the core approvers in the KubeVirt project. And I'm also working as a principal software engineer in Red Hat. And I'm pleased to introduce my colleague Orel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Orel Mizan. I'm a senior software engineer at Red Hat. I'm a network and test approvers. And today we are going to have our new contributor session, which will be divided into three parts. The first part will be a general orientation, which I will lead. And then the second part will be the workflow, developer workflow that Igor will lead. And then the third part will be a Q&A where you can ask questions and hopefully get the answers you were looking for. Feel free to send your questions in the chat. We will be happy to answer them during the presentation. Okay, so let's begin. Let's begin with what can we contribute to this project. The first thing that we can contribute is bug reports, whether they are bug reports for the KubeVirt project itself, for the documentation, etc. We are always happy to receive your feedback. We're always interested in learning new issues that rose from your usage of the KubeVirt project. And we are also, of course, interested in how to reproduce it. And also after the fix was posted and merged, we are also interested in the verification of it, whether the fix was actually good or not. The second thing that we're interested in is improvements to our user guide and development documents. As you may know, the KubeVirt project is quite complex and it has a lot of documentation, and sometimes it gets out of date or not being the most accurate that it can. So we are also actively looking for contributions in terms of upstream documentation. And the last thing that requires the most skill is code fixes or code changes. We are actively looking for bug fixes, new features that you may want to add to KubeVirt, and of course, improving test coverage, whether unit tests or end-to-end tests, and of course, improvements to our code quality in general. So in this slide, you can see how to report a bug. This is, for example, the KubeVirt GitHub repository, where you go on to the issues and press the new issue button here. Here it's blue, but sometimes it can be green. And you can select one of the bug issues, whether it's a bug, documentation, a feature request, etc., or security, of course. This is the KubeVirt.io website. It is the portal for many of our documentation. For example, the user guide is part of this website. The calendar could be found here. All kinds of community-related resources are available in this site. And in general, it's a pretty interesting website. This is, for example, the main page of the KubeVirt user guide. This is mostly user or admin-facing resource, less developer-oriented. This is the KubeVirt API reference that is also accessible via the KubeVirt.io website. As you can see, it is divided into versions. The main is like the bleeding edge, and then there is a list of all the stable releases, and you can see the API reference per release. Another thing we wanted to talk about is communication channels with the community. So as you can see, there are plenty. The first two are the least formal or the most informal, and they are part of the Kubernetes Slack workspace. Inside the Kubernetes Slack workspace, we have two dedicated channels. The first is called virtualization. It is mostly for general purpose questions. and user-facing questions. And the second one is more developer-oriented. It is called KubeVirt Dev. Another communication channel that we have, which is more formal, is the KubeVirt mailing list. As you can see, its address is here, kubevirtdev@googlegroups.com. This is more for major announcements, discussions on design reviews, design documents, and requests for feedback. There is also the meetings. There are several meetings. There is the main community meeting every Wednesday, and also there are special interest groups. When we will talk about them in a later slide, but just for you to know that dedicated meetings exist, and their frequency varies from once a week to once every 2 weeks, etc. So in this slide, we can see the KubeVirt Dev Slack channel where you can ask questions, hang out with fellow KubeVirt community members, and request for feedback. This is a screenshot of the KubeVirt Dev mailing list, which is pretty self-explanatory. If you have a previous experience with mailing lists, but if you don't, please ask at the end of the meeting and we will be happy to answer. This is a screenshot of the KubeVirt community calendar. Here you can see all the different meetings. The KubeVirt main meeting, as I've said, is every Wednesday on 3 UTC, if I remember correctly, but check me out on this one. Another thing that is important to keep in mind is the KubeVirt release schedule. KubeVirt release schedule lives on a dedicated repository, which is called github.com/KubeVirt/sig release. And then you can see the schedule per release. In this example, we see the schedule for the next version, which is 1.8. And you can see that the schedule is divided basically into 3 major parts. The first one is the planning part, which takes place until the KubeVirt Alpha, where people can submit their enhancements proposal. Enhancements proposal will be discussed later by Igor, but just to give you a glimpse into what they are. When you want to change something significant, you need to write a design document and say how the system will change. So this is the last deadline for your VEP to be merged. Then there is the actual implementation phase, which ends with the KubeVirt code freeze, and a stable branch is cut from the main branch. And then this branch goes through a phase of stabilization until KubeVirt is released and declared GA. Next thing we wanted to talk about is the structure of the KubeVirt organization. And in this organization, there are 99 active, not all of them are active, but there are 99 repositories. But these are the 3 main ones that you, as a KubeVirt community member, need to know or should care about. The first one, of course, is KubeVirt, which all the core logic lives inside. Most of the development effort is invested in this repository. There is also the KubeVirt user guide, where the user guide that we saw earlier is rendered from code that exists in this repository. And there is the enhancement repository that contains all the enhancement proposals and all the discussion about existing and new feature. Please keep in mind that every repository has an owner's file of its own, where you can find the list of names or aliases of KubeVirt reviewers and approvers. This is an overview of the KubeVirt organization. If you go into github.com/KubeVirt, this is what you will see. From here, you can go into all the repositories and see all the interesting people that comprise of the KubeVirt organization. Next thing are SIGs, special interest groups. So what are they? Special interest groups are groups of people that are interested in a specific area of KubeVirt. They own parts of the code. They have responsibilities over their little part of the project. Sometimes it's not little in some cases. And in general, they are meeting every once in a while to discuss their areas of responsibility. If you have, for example, some change that relates to one of the SIGs here, you can go into their meetings and discuss it with them. So these are the main SIGs that we currently have, but let's focus on the main three pillars of virtualization. First, we have SIG Compute, which is the largest SIG, which owns most of the code base. They are touching all the logic that happens on the nodes, virt handler, etc., all the virtualization, live migration, and stuff around this area. Then we have SIG storage that gaps the bridge between Kubernetes storage and virtual machines. Their territory includes snapshot, restores, backups, and data volumes. They also own the CDI project in case you are using it or considering using it. And there is SIG Network, which is the smaller of the three big SIGs. This SIG is responsible for connecting VMs to pod networks. It manages network bindings and network binding plugins, and in general, ensure proper connectivity of VMs into Kubernetes networks. So this was the first introductory part. Now let's hand it off to Igor to talk about the developer workflow.
Yeah, thank you, Aurel. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about the workflow in the KubeVirt project. So first of all, you may have asked yourself what are the preferred skills to have that may help you with the fast onboarding on the project. So first of all, the project is written in Go all around. So if you are familiar or feel confident with the Go programming language, it will help you much with the onboarding. And of course, Kubernetes, it's because KubeVirt is a cloud native. It's an operator with controllers that is running on Kubernetes. So if you're familiar with Kubernetes as a developer or as an administrator, it will help you much with the understanding of the project structure. And the last but not least is the virtualization stack, which is currently libvirt and QEMU. So if you are also familiar with these tools, it will help you with understanding of the controller design and with the how controllers are implementing these virtualization features, so they will be cloud native and play well with with Kubernetes ecosystem. And if you ask yourself, well, where should I start? So a good start is by going to the KubeVirt repository issues and filtering the good first issue label. You can find there issues that were opened and considered as good for first-time contributors for onboarding. Just pay attention that you are if you want to work on it, if you have the bandwidth and the willing that nobody else is currently working on that feature, on that issue, sorry. And if you need some clarifications and help, so don't hesitate to ask questions in the Slack channel and in the mailing list. Whenever we are available, we will help you with pleasure. So no problem there. Once you want to contribute code, there are some best practices that in the end will spare time from the maintainers and the reviewers while looking at your submitted code changes. So it begins with Git, how to write commit messages and the commit message content. So First of all, we have the project code conventions. You can find the code convention documentation in the project repository under the docs directory. And if you cannot find it, you can ask in the Slack channel for help. Once you're following the code conventions, when you add some new code or you change existing code, it is better to test your changes locally and add unit tests if needed, and keep the unit test code close to the implementation in the same commit, because when reviewers and approvers are looking at your changes, they prefer to look not in a flat mode, what has changed by files, but by commits, so it has some rational logic and thought process. And it's better to split the changes. And when you are later on, when you are collaborating with the reviewers and approvers and they ask you for code changes, please squash them, and by not adding another commit that will be like addressed reviewer request, please squash them into the context of the commit that introduced this concern from the reviewers. And do not forget in the commit message to sign off, because we are following the DCO policy, so commits need to be signed. And we prepared some of the examples of best practices in Git commit messages. So in general, you can find the Git commit best practices in the internet, so you're welcome to read it. Here I want to emphasize on some basics that we like to see in the commit messages. We would like to see the subject to be descriptive and short, separated from the description. And the lines, we like to follow that convention that lines should not, I think, exceed 80 or 72 characters. And in the end, it's important, once again, to be signed off by the contributor. So here is like less desired format of a commit message, when you have only the title without the description and without the reasoning, like why would we need this commit this change. And once you are ready with your code, you can submit a new pull request. And we encourage people to submit pull requests if the pull request is not ready yet, and you want to discuss about the changes and you are not sure. You can put the pull request in draft mode. It will, first of all, it will signal the reviewers and maintainers that the PR is currently not ready for review, and that the author is currently maybe discussing with the community the changes. And secondly, it's saving the CI resources, because the draft PR will not trigger the CI automatically unless the intention of the draft mode is for you to debug some of the CI that is currently may not work because of the current changes. Once you are beyond that phase and you think your PR is ready, so you can move it from draft to review mode. You need to gain, to gain attention, to get attention from the community if you want your PR, to be frequently reviewed or to be reviewed by some special interest group or by the approver. So ask for feedback in the communication channels, in the mailing list, in Slack, whenever you find it convenient for you. And CI lanes are something that is very important, so it doesn't matter on the attention from the reviewers and maintainers. Also, it can spare the time from the reviewers and maintainers. If the CI lanes are not green, you probably have some problem and you would need to either debug it by yourself or ask for some help from the community. And last thing is, when the CI is happy and you got the attention, the pull request, according to our merge policy, needs to have LGTM label and approve label. Then it will be considered as a PR that is ready to be merged. Now, as we talked previously about Git commit best practices, it is also very, very important for us to see some clarification about the change in the pull request message itself. So we are encouraging people to write descriptive and meaningful titles and follow the PR description template. So here we can see I put like an example of a PR that is like we desire to see such PRs which will be much easier for us as reviewers and approvers to understand why this change happened and what is being changed. And if it's an additional functionality to the code, as you can see, we need to you need to write a summary of your change in the release note. Usually, we are not writing in the release note when the pull request is about to fix a bug or to bump a library or to fix some CI stabilization. We are not writing it in the release notes. We are only writing when a new functionality is being added or existing functionality is being modified. On the other hand, less desired PR formats or PRs in general like this, because this is a PR that from the formatting perspective looks good. All the titles, I mean, all the subjects are in the PR description, but nevertheless, this PR doesn't seem to contribute to the project because probably the PR author didn't engage with the community to understand whether this change is needed or not. Maybe this is too much, too obvious, but for the reviewers and maintainers, it's a waste of kind of CPU cycles in our time. So this is less desired. Once again, please follow the pull request template because these types of PRs are hard to understand. Why, for example, this test was out from quarantine, what happened, what kind of investigation, what is the context. So such PRs are less desired to be seen. And also this PR is like, it has a good willing, but we usually encourage people to create pull requests with a limited scope. And if it's a very big scope that is like project-wide, it's better to have an upstream issue tracker and also to expose that issue in the community, the effort that is put to do that, to reduce like cognitive complexities everywhere in the code. So probably this will be a huge PR, and we are not encouraging people to do PRs that cover most of the project code because it's very, very hard to review such pull requests. In some cases, it's inevitable because when we bump some core library, so basically a lot of files is being changed. So there is no other way but to do this change in one shot. But these kind of PRs of cognitive complexity obviously can be divided into subtasks, which will make it easy for reviewers and maintainers to review. And it means that your PR will get much faster in. So please keep it in mind. Yeah, so once again, as you remember, I mentioned the CI lanes and the importance of the CI to be happy, to be green. Here is a screenshot just for you, for the look and feel. In the pull request, in the bottom, you can see the status of the CI. There are lanes that are marked as required. I put a red square in the right, so you can see these lanes. If these lanes are not passed, and you can see that they are failed, you will have to investigate why. It could be because either of your changes or some general flake that the CI is currently experiencing. So this needs to be investigated, and it's better to be investigated by the author proactively. So the CI, the status of your PR CI will be, as much as possible, not related to your changes. For example, if you click on this lane, you can see this kind of screen when you can see which specific test is failed. So If you see that the test that is failed is maybe one of your new tests that you have added, or this test somehow related to the functionality that you changed or added, it's probably because of your changes. And if you need help with understanding how come that this change made the CI fail, we have the artifacts here. If you click on the artifacts, you will see the cluster state when the failure occurred. It's not expected from you, from the for the first time to understand what happened. You can once again go to the community and ask for help in debugging the lane. So this is just for the look and feel. So here you can see we have like a snapshot of all the cluster, all the pods, the nodes, the configuration, the custom resources, everything is here. So it can be you can troubleshoot it together with someone from the community, or if you are, if you are familiar with the setup, you can debug it by yourself. The desired state is that you will come with the root cause to the community. But once again, if you need help with investigating the root cause, you can ask us in the communication channels. So yeah, if you are willing to add some major functionality, or you want to change, you want to enhance an existing functionality in the project, which may involve API change, major changes in the controller, some refactoring. The formal way to discuss such an enhancement is through the enhancement proposal, which we call VEP, the Virtualization Enhancement Proposal. So basically, this is similar to some extent to the Kubernetes way of enhancement proposal. So if you're familiar with Kubernetes, they have the KEP. So we have VEP. And there is a dedicated repository. It's like under the KubeVirt organization. The repository is called Enhancements, and it has template. You can follow the template and write your proposal. Once you are finished, you can submit a pull request to the enhancements repository. And in order to have some attention for your web, you will have to go to the web discussion meeting, which occurs like bi-monthly at least. And it also depends on the project development stage. As Aurel previously mentioned, the release cycles and the cycles of the project. So we have the web freeze. It's better to discuss your web before the web freeze, so it's up to you to follow the project timelines and to engage with the community through the meetings in order the web to get some attention. And and finally, joining the organization is, of course, you're welcome. We will be very happy for new contributors with all the help that could be given to the project, as Aurel mentioned previously. In order to join the organization, you need to submit a pull request that promotes you, and you need some sponsors. Sponsors are basically people from the community that are evident for your participation in the project. So some track record needs to be there. You can read about the membership policy in the KubeVirt community repository. And if you need the link, we can provide you the link later on. So just for the look and feel, here is like an example of how a pull request of requesting to be added to the organization is look like. There is a checklist. I think that there is a template about it. You can take it from the membership policy. There is a link to that checklist that you need to check before submitting the pull request. Yeah, and basically that's it. The key takeaways is that don't hesitate to ask questions and in participating in the meetings, introducing yourself to the community. And best practices are very, very important. It can save maintainer time, because maintainer time is, it's, as usual, expensive resource. We have, as you can see, we have a lot of issues and pull request open, and there are, the maintainers are not that many. So bear that in mind. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you, everyone. And there is a time for questions, I think.
Hi guys, this is David Pearson. Can you hear me okay?
Hello. Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm going to be greedy. I've got two questions for you.
Sure.
Question number one, you've just been talking about the organization. I hope I didn't misunderstand this. In order just to basically jump in, get involved, potentially do a pull request to, I don't know, improve the documentation as an example, can I just go ahead and do that? I don't need to be a part of the organization to do that, do I?
Yes, you are totally correct. You can open a pull request. You don't need to be a member of the organization. So, in order, the membership in the organization is when you want, when you want to constantly contribute, right? And you can, you want to have some permissions. For example, members, someone that is not a member of an organization, so we need an approval to run the CI lanes, for example. But
Okay.
everyone, you don't need to be a member of the organization in order to submit pull requests. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Right. Second question. So, obviously, I'd like to get an environment set up so I can start, looking at the product, tire kicking, trying to figure out how I can help out, etc. I'm actually on the Apple Mac platform. What are your recommendations for getting started? Because when I look at the documentation, it talks about, Minikube and a lot of different things, but there's no specifics about actually getting an environment set up on an Apple Mac to get started with this.
Yeah, I feel your pain. I know that. My recommendation will be, because we are usually working with Intel laptops and workstations. If you work with Apple, so you can either create there, a virtual machine, or try to compile the project and run the tests anyway, and submit the issues or the compilation errors that you have in the community, and engage with us using the channel.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So
if
at
you
a high
can.
level, the recommendation would be, I don't know, maybe create a virtual machine image of, say, Fedora, and then install it that way.
Yeah, it's better to be like that, because as you've seen we talked about it in the prior knowledge, we have this virtualization stack, which is Linux, kind of, Linux low level. We may have some libraries that will be needed in the unit tests. Unit tests, there's always place to improve them. They are isolated, but not 100% isolated. I know that some components require, I think, libvirt in order for the unit test to pass. So you may have some issues there. Also Bazel, I don't know if Bazel plays nice, play nice on on Apple and ARM. So yeah, it's better to be Fedora and x86 64 architecture,
Okay.
if you can
Perfect.
arrange
All
it.
right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other questions?
By the way, I wanted to create another session, a follow-up, maybe about more like deep dive into the upstream CI of KubeVirt. So, but not too much technical, but yet some session that will make you confident with with the CI and how to run it locally. What are the requirements, and how to read the lanes, and how to make it faster for you to come with the root cause analysis if the CI lanes are failed. So I was thinking to do a follow-up session, and I think I will do it in the upcoming month.
By the way, there are many people here. Is there anything that you will find interesting in the project that you will want to deep dive on? Don't be shy. We are very, very open and very welcoming. So please let us know.
Yeah, we will be happy to do, follow-up sessions for you. Like when we built this presentation, it was introduction level, but if you think that we need to emphasize on some parts, please let us know. We will be happy to create more sessions like that and to share the knowledge we have with the project.
By the way, we are also looking for feedback, whether this session met your expectations or do you have any other expectations. Feedback is always welcome.
Hi. Yeah, it's definitely a good session for the beginners, covering all the basics. Just a comment, probably like or question: is there any place or documentation to find different network possibilities? I mean, there is one repo called CNAVO, Cluster Network Add-ons Operator, but is there any place where we can find which network to use for which use case, kind of thing? Just wondering.
Sure, there is inside the KubeVirt.io, there is the user guide, and the user guide has a network section. So I would start looking there. And you've mentioned CNOW. CNOW is an external component to KubeVirt. It has its own configuration and its own purpose. And its purpose currently is to deploy several satellite projects or projects that are beneficial for using KubeVirt in certain environments. For example, it deploys Kube MacPool, which is a component that makes sure that there are no MAC address duplication in the cluster. It also deploys the Dynamics Network Controller, which allows you to do in-place NIC hot plug. And it deploys several other projects, but in general, this is what it does. Did it answer your question?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll check the documentation. So CNAO is outside the KubeVirt, is it? I thought it's part of
It is
KubeVirt.
in the KubeVirt organization, but it is not part of the KubeVirt core. Like it's an adjacent project to KubeVirt. You can deploy it separately. Like when you deploy KubeVirt, you don't get CNOW. You can deploy CNOW as an independent component.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Are there any additional subjects that would interest you? Something else that you would like us to expand on or elaborate on?
Would you like to see sessions about other projects in the organization rather than KubeVirt? For example, do you have interest in CDI, for example, or hyperconverged operator? Let us know if you would like to hear about these projects too, so we can arrange sessions about it also.
Yeah. You already mentioned about KubeVirt CI, so I would be interested in that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I will prepare a presentation and I will publish it in the mailing list.
Is anyone here interested in contributing into the KubeVirt user guide? Okay, so if there aren't any other questions.
One question I have. This meeting was recorded, right?
Yeah.
Where can we access the recording for the meeting?
It will probably be published on YouTube, and KubeVirt has many other social networks accounts. For example, I received my updates on Telegram, but it's like links to YouTube.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it will be also published in the mailing list.
Okay, so thank you everyone.
I'll probably send that a thing on. We've got a Blue Sky, Twitter, and Mastodon accounts, and so when the video goes up, I'll put it up on there as well. Whichever flavor of social media you're into.
Cool.
Thank you very much for your time, everyone.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you again, Aurel, just as you try and wrap things up. You asked if anyone was interested in the user guide, and I see in chat that Kiran is interested if you wanted to go on a user guide tangent in the last 5 minutes.
Oh, nice.
What would you be interested in contributing, Kiran?
I'm Kiran. I don't know much about KubeVirt. The reason I'm interested in contributing to user guide is that I get to explore the project. So not particularly just on one component. I'm unsure on what I would be interested in, but overall, contributing to user guide would be a good way for me to know more about the project. So you could give me some pointers in that. That would be a good help. That's it.
Yeah, sure. You can always, for example, change the layout, change the wording, make some wording clearer, and make everything more accessible, or even to point out where certain things aren't clear enough and ask for the appropriate SIGs to clarify if you don't know the answers yourself.
Yeah, you can submit an issue in the user guide repository if you see something that needs to be improved and you want it to be tracked. If you are looking for existing issues, we may have a good first issue in the user guide, but I'm not sure because I was covering the good first issues in the KubeVirt core project. Yeah, we can check that.
Sure, thanks. That helps. I'll work my way through it, and if I'm stuck, I'll let you guys. I'll ask for help. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Welcome.
Thank you. Any other last questions? Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.